Carik Kasari, a 35-year-old educated and sensible man, lived in a small town called Victoria, located in the Kunti district. His father, Jharkhand Kasari, was a prominent and respected landowner in the area, known for owning vast stretches of farmland. Carik's family was small and close-knit, just his parents, his married sister, and himself. As the only son, his father always encouraged him to stay home and manage their land instead of chasing a government job. They already had more than enough, and Jharkhand felt there was no need for Carik to leave, understanding his parents' wishes and wanted to be there for them in their old age. Carik agreed and stayed back to help his father with the farming. When Carik reached the age for marriage, several proposals started coming in. One among them was for a girl named Pry, who was known for her beauty and good manners. Jharkhand immediately liked the match, and in 2011, Carik and Pry were married. As the years passed, Carik's life turned into a picture of happiness. His marriage was peaceful, loving, and full of joy. He and Pry had 2 lovely daughters and shared a strong bond as a family. Their farm did well, and there was always enough money. There were no arguments, no bitterness, only love, understanding, and laughter. To the outside world, their family looked like something straight out of a feel-good movie. But none of them could have imagined how the night of September 28, 2019, would change everything forever, a night darker than any moonless sky. It was around 10 p.m. when Carik and Pry were returning home from Ranchi after shopping for festival supplies. The roads were quiet, with barely any traffic. They were in their white Wagoner, with Carik driving and Pry seated beside him. They chatted casually as the car rolled smoothly through the still night toward Victoria. But as their car approached a remote and deserted stretch of road, 2 young men on a motorcycle sped past them, only to suddenly stop right in front of their vehicle. Carik hit the brakes hard, narrowly avoiding a collision. Just ahead, he noticed a white Scorpio SUV parked off to the side. Before he could make sense of the situation, the men on the bike walked up to the car, shouting aggressively and ordering Carik to get out. At the same time, 2 men stepped out of the Scorpio, one of them holding a heavy iron rod. Carik instantly sensed that something was terribly wrong. The road was empty, the night eerily silent, and there was no one around to call for help. The bikers kept yelling, insisting he step out of the car. Trapped and with no other choice, Carik finally. As soon as Carik stepped out of the car, the nightmare began. Without warning, all 4 men lunged at him and started beating him mercilessly. One of the attackers swung the iron rod with brutal force, striking the back of Carik's head. The blow was so fierce, it fractured his skull instantly. Carik let out a scream of agony before collapsing to the ground. Blood pooled around him as he lay motionless. Inside the car, Pry watched in horror, frozen and helpless, as her husband took his final breath right before her eyes. When the attackers realized that Carik was no longer breathing, they fled the scene without another word. The road fell silent once again. Shaking and sobbing uncontrollably, Pry stepped out of the car and rushed to Carik's side. She knelt down and tried to shake him awake, her voice trembling with fear and denial. But Carik didn't move. In that heart-wrenching moment, the truth hit her like a storm. Carik was gone. Overwhelmed with grief, Pry let out a cry that echoed through the empty night. Through her tears, she remembered her nephew, Shankar, desperately hoping for help. She called him. Her voice cracked as she described what had just happened. Shankar, startled by the terror in his aunt's voice, tried to stay calm. He reassured her that he was on his way. After ending the call, Shankar rushed toward the scene with all the speed he could manage. Meanwhile, Pry also contacted Carik's father, Jharkhand Kasari, and his brother-in-law, Ranjit, to tell them about the horrifying attack. The news spread quickly. Shocked and devastated, Carik's entire family raced to the spot where the incident had taken place. When Shankar reached the scene, he didn't waste a moment. Acting with urgency, he grabbed a towel and wrapped it tightly around Carik's head in an attempt to stop the bleeding. With help from bystanders, they lifted Carik into a vehicle and rushed to the hospital. But it was too late. When they arrived, the doctors could only confirm what they'd feared. Carik was already dead. Since the incident occurred within the jurisdiction of the Kank police station, the authorities were immediately informed. A police officer and his team quickly arrived at the hospital. As word of Carik's death spread, a large crowd began to gather, relatives, friends, and local residents. Carik wasn't just a ration dealer. He was deeply loved and respected in the community, known for his kindness and social work. His sudden, violent death sent shockwaves through the entire town. Carik's family was shattered. Grief quickly turned into anger as they demanded swift justice. They pleaded with the police to catch the men who had murdered their son. The superintendent of police personally met the family. He asked for their cooperation and promised that the culprits would be brought to justice. He also requested that the family allow the police to conduct their investigation properly and without interference. Though heartbroken, the family agreed and stepped back, placing their faith in the system. The police then took Carik's body for After confirming Carik's death, the police sent his body for a post-mortem examination. With the initial formalities complete, the officers proceeded to the scene of the crime to begin their investigation. There, they discovered blood splatters covering a wide area of the ground, a chilling reminder of the brutality Carik had suffered. The police collected soil soaked in blood as forensic evidence, but aside from that, no major clues were found. Later that same night, based on a written complaint by Carik's father, Jharkhand Kasari, the police registered a formal case. The charges included murder and destruction of evidence, filed against 5 unidentified individuals. During the early stages of the investigation, the police recorded the statement of Pry, Carik's wife, who was still in shock and tears. She recounted the horrifying moment when 4 to 5 masked men had surrounded the car and attacked Carik using sticks, iron rods, and metal bars. She said the attack was so savage that Carik collapsed on the spot, gravely wounded. After carrying out the assault, the assailants fled the scene on 2 motorcycles, heading toward the Betrayal Chowk area. Pry mentioned that all the attackers had covered their faces, so she couldn't clearly recognize any of them. The following day, on September 30th, the post-mortem report arrived. It confirmed what everyone feared. Carik had died due to severe trauma to the head and extensive blood loss. But even 3 days after the brutal killing, the police still had no strong leads. To push the case forward, SSP Anil Gupta formed a special investigation team, placing a deputy superintendent of police, DSP, in charge. The team immediately began a fresh and detailed probe. They revisited the crime scene, reevaluated evidence, and started connecting dots that hadn't made sense before. So far, their findings confirmed that Carik and Pry had been returning from Ranchi that night after shopping for an upcoming festival. It was during this return trip that the attack occurred. However, the motive behind the murder remained a mystery. If it had been a robbery, the attackers would have taken something valuable. But nothing was stolen, not from Pry nor from the car. That raised eyebrows. And then came a disturbing line of questioning about Pry's own behavior during the attack. Despite witnessing 4 or 5 men assault her husband with deadly weapons, Pry had not stepped out of the car. She hadn't screamed for help. She didn't even call anyone immediately. Only after the attackers fled did she contact her nephew, Shankar. Why hadn't she tried to intervene or alert someone during the attack? The police found this deeply unsettling. Even more troubling was a discrepancy in Pry's statement. She had told officers that the assailants escaped on 2 motorcycles to the road leading to Betrayal Chowk. But when police checked CCTV footage from that area during the time she mentioned, there were no bikes seen leaving. This contradiction raised a serious red flag. Could Pry be hiding something? Could she be lying? With rising suspicion and pressure to solve the case, the police began, as the investigation deepened, suspicion around Pry's possible involvement grew stronger. To uncover the truth, the police decided to take a closer look at the call records of both Carik and Pry. What they discovered shocked them. Pry's phone had indeed been at the location of the attack, consistent with her being in the car during the incident. But that wasn't what surprised investigators. Just before the murder took place, Pry had made multiple calls, all to the same number. That number, upon tracing, was found to belong to a man named Ankit Kasari, who also lived in the Kunti district. This immediately raised red flags. A police team quickly moved in to raid Ankit's house, but he was nowhere to be found. When officers questioned his family, they revealed that Ankit had left home nearly 15 days ago, and nobody had heard from him since. To the police, his sudden disappearance spoke volumes. Their thinking was clear. Why would an innocent man vanish without a trace? Now all eyes were on Pry. Investigators were convinced that if anyone knew the full truth, it was her. If they pushed hard enough, they believed the dark secret behind Carik's murder would come to light. By now, 2 weeks had passed since the tragedy, and pressure on the police was mounting from all sides. Then, on October 10th, 2019, police finally arrested Pry in Victoria, Kunti district. She was brought into custody for questioning. At first, she held her ground, insisting she was innocent. She repeatedly denied any role in the murder. But when officers confronted her with Ankit's name, the call logs, and his sudden disappearance, Pry began to crack. Her voice trembled, her confidence faltered, and slowly the facade began to fall apart. Realizing the evidence was undeniable, Pry finally confessed. And what she revealed was disturbing, heartbreaking, and shocking beyond belief. If you've stayed with this story till now, don't forget to like this video and comment a red heart to show your support. Now, back to the confession. Pry revealed that after marrying Carik, she had never truly been happy. Despite marrying into a wealthy and respected family, she always felt emotionally disconnected. She described her husband, Carik, as simple and not particularly attractive in her eyes. But Carik, unaware of her inner discontent, gave her nothing but love, respect, and care. His entire family welcomed her with open arms and treated her like a queen. Carik did everything he could to make her happy. In time, the couple was blessed with 2 lovely daughters, Nisha and Perry. Yet even with a loving family, Pry's heart was elsewhere. She was still haunted by memories of Ankit Kasari, a boy from her childhood, someone she had grown up with at her parents' home. Ankit wasn't just a friend. He had been her first love. They had been inseparable during their school years. If Pry missed a class, Ankit would skip school too, just to be with her. Over time, their friendship blossomed into a deep, emotional bond, one that neither of them could forget, even after Pry was married to someone else. And it was this forbidden connection that planted the seed for a deadly betrayal. Pry and Ankit had grown up in the same village, and over the years, their innocent friendship turned into deep love. Both of them dreamed of spending their lives together. But fate had other plans. Because their relationship was well known in the village, Pry's family began to worry about their reputation. Acting quickly, they arranged her marriage to Carik, hoping to sever her connection with Ankit for good. But love doesn't die so easily. Even after the wedding, Pry and Ankit continued their affair in secret. Whenever Carik left for work, Pry would spend hours on the phone with Ankit, their bond growing stronger over time. One day, Ankit took a bold step. He visited Pry at her in-laws' house. To cover up, Pry introduced him as a distant cousin. From that day onward, Ankit started visiting regularly. The trusting nature of her in-laws made it easy for Pry to hide the truth. Whenever Carik was away, she would invite Ankit over. But not everyone was blind. Carik's father, Jharkhand, began to notice something odd about Ankit's frequent visits. Eventually, Carik himself questioned Pry. "Why is Ankit always here?" he asked. "Why don't you ask him to stop coming?" Realizing Carik was starting to suspect the truth, Pry panicked. She called Ankit and told him to stay away for a while until things cooled down. Ankit felt hurt, but he didn't stay away for long. Ankit came from a wealthy background. He owned a car, had servants, and lived a luxurious lifestyle. Surrounded by comfort and indulgence, he also had a close circle of friends, including Vishal Pandey, a lawyer, and 2 associates, Deepak and Ujjwal Kasari, one of whom also worked as his driver. All of them knew about Ankit and Pry's hidden love. When Pry asked Ankit to stop visiting her home, he was furious. He began to obsess over one thought. If Carik is out of the picture, Pry and I can finally be together. He started sharing these dark thoughts with his friends. To their credit, his friends tried to talk him out of it. Vishal Pandey, the lawyer, warned him, "There has to be a better way. Murder isn't the answer." But Ankit's anger was blinding him. Then, in the second week of September 2019, everything came to a breaking point. Carik and Pry were attending a relative's party. Many well-known people from the area were also present. During the event, Carik mingled with relatives while Pry wandered around. And that's when Ankit, who had come knowing Pry would be there, approached her. They held hands secretly, smiling like a couple lost in their own world. But suddenly, Carik walked into the room and saw everything. He exploded with rage. Right there, in front of dozens of guests, Carik started shouting at both of them. His harsh words echoed through the hall. Embarrassed, Pry and Ankit stood silently, humiliated. But in Ankit's mind, something snapped. He made a vow, "I'll make him pay for this." After the party, Carik and Pry returned home. Still boiling with anger, Carik scolded her harshly, warning her to never contact Ankit again. "If I find out you spoke to him again, I'll end it myself," he said. Terrified, Pry immediately called Ankit and told him everything, how Carik had humiliated him and how he'd threatened to kill him. And that's when the fatal decision was made. This, Pry said, was the perfect moment to get rid of Carik once and for all. And Ankit agreed. Together, they finalized a plan. The date was set September 28, 2019. To make it all seem normal, Pry convinced Carik to go to Ranchi with her for some festival shopping. They spent the day at the markets, and by 8 p.m., they were heading back home. But while driving, Pry secretly called Ankit, informing him they'd reach Kunti in about 2 hours. Ankit had already put his plan in motion. He had positioned Vishal Pandey and others at specific points along the highway. The trap had been set. The plan was in motion. Ankit had made sure that everything was perfectly organized. He arranged for his Scorpio vehicle to be stocked with weapons, iron rods, wooden sticks, and metal bars, all hidden away. His friend Vishal Pandey was by his side, fully prepared. Meanwhile, Deepak and Mangesh waited on motorcycles at Badu Chowk, the pre-decided ambush spot. As the clock ticked closer to 10 p.m., Ankit and Vishal parked the Scorpio in a dark, quiet section of the road, waiting in silence for the final piece of their cruel puzzle, Carik and Pry's arrival. At exactly the planned time, Carik's car approached a deserted stretch of road. Everything was in place. Deepak, already on the scene, sprang into action. On Ankit's signal, he raced ahead on his bike and blocked Carik's car, forcing it to stop. Before Carik could react, Ankit and Vishal leapt from the Scorpio, weapons in hand. They yanked the door open and forced Carik out of the car. The moment his feet touched the ground, Vishal swung an iron rod with full force, landing a devastating blow to the back of Carik's head. He collapsed instantly, his skull shattered from the impact. He died on the spot. Inside the car, Pry sat quietly, watching her husband take his final breath. But instead of fear or horror, her heart was filled with relief. "Carik is gone," she thought. "Now nothing stands between me and Ankit." But the consequences of her choices would soon unfold, brutally. Back at home, Carik's parents were inconsolable. Their only son, the pillar of their family, had been taken from them in such a brutal way. He had supported them in their old age, carried the weight of family duties, and loved Pry with sincerity. But Pry had never wanted that life. She had entered the marriage unwillingly, pressured by her family. But instead of seeking a peaceful way out, she chose a path of deceit, destruction, and death. Justice catches up. The police moved swiftly. On December 10th, 2019, Pry was finally arrested. Her confession had exposed the entire web of betrayal. Along with her, Vishal Pandey was also taken into custody. But Ankit and his accomplices had vanished. It wasn't until March 2020 that the manhunt paid off. Deepak, Kasari, and Mangesh were found and arrested. And finally, in April 2020, the mastermind himself, Ankit Kasari, was captured. During questioning, every one of them confessed to their roles in the chilling murder. With Ankit's help, the police even recovered the murder weapons, the same rods and sticks that had ended Carik's life. The face behind the smile. To the world, Pry had seemed like a gentle, devoted wife. But behind that sweet face had a cold, calculating heart. One that had destroyed a marriage, ended a man's life, and left 2 little girls without a father. What began as a forbidden love story turned into a bloody tale of betrayal. proving once again that sometimes the greatest danger comes from the person closest to you. This was today's shocking real-life crime case. What are your thoughts? Was justice truly served? Share your opinions in the comments. And if the story shook you, don't forget to subscribe for more true crime stories like this one. Thank you for watching.